So, 1989. The Soviet Union was struggling in Afghanistan. After 10 years, chose to withdraw all troops. This protracted war, leaving more than 1 million dead. More than 5 million people have been displaced. Off on full ISOR instrument, Bin Laden was there that year. Lead Al-Qaeda members. Returned to Saudi Arabia. But the peace did not last long. 1990. Iraqi President Saddam Hussein was involved in a dispute with Kuwait. Oil production and prices are at odds. Directly occupied the whole of Kuwait. Saudi Arabia's proximity to Kuwait. Fear that you will become Saddam's next target. At this point, Bin Laden took the initiative to propose to the King of Saudi Arabia, willing to lead Al-Qaeda fighters to defend the country. However, the Saudi government rejected it outright. He turned to America for help and allowed the United States to establish military bases in Saudi Arabia. This decision has made the United States a treasure because this is their the second opportunity to use military power, deployed directly to the heart of the Middle East. Bin Laden was furious. In his opinion, Saudi Arabia as a holy place for Islam, the location of the Cellar and Martina, Islamic education when non-Muslim troops move in, serious drug abuse. He not only wrote a letter accusing the Saudi king of luring wolves into his house, he also made several public anti-government remarks. These actions have fairly angered the Saudi government. Ultimately, Bin Laden was stripped of his citizenship and expelled from the police force. He not only lost his country's asylum, he was also expelled from his family, de-lead from the company, became stateless. Bin Laden, who lost national asylum, exiled to Sudan. In Sudan, he funded the infrastructure, funding the local government's crackdown on southern rebels in exchange for asylum. At the same time, he secretly set up training camps all over Sudan, recruiting global jihadists. As fame grows, followers flock. Bin Laden at this time, completely transformed from a former jihadist hero, transformed into a targeted terrorist mastermind. His enemy was no longer the Soviet Union. It was America. He believes that the United States has long manipulated the Arab world, support dictators, trample on Islamic dignity, and overthrow America's global dominance, became his core goal. From then on, Bin Laden began to use violence against the United States, launched a series of terrorist attacks. December 1992, Bin Laden in Yemen. Plan hotel bombing targeting U.S. troops in Somalia. Although there were no U.S. casualties, but two Australian tourists were tragically killed. It became his first anti-American act. It is also considered by the CIA as the first international terrorist act. Then on February 26, 1993, a car carrying approximately 680 kilograms of explosives. Explosion in the basement of the North Tower of the World Trade Center in New York. 6 people died. More than 1,000 people were injured. Huge crack in the building. The FBI investigation found that the attack was planned as early as 1991. Terrorist ram his speed suit. As one of the masterminds of the attack, Bin Laden provided him with funding and intelligence support. This is also the head of Bin Laden. The United States has placed him on the most wanted terrorist list for the first time. Bin Laden's terrorist activities have since intensified. He repeatedly plotted to assassinate pro-American Arab leaders. In 1993, he plotted to assassinate King Hussein of Jordan, attempted to assassinate Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak in 1994. They all failed. In the same year, U.S. President Clinton, release of National Security Strategy Report, proposed to promote democracy and human rights globally. Later, The foreign policy theory of human rights over sovereignty. Which country is not democratic enough? The United States is about to intervene, even regime change if necessary. This policy by bin Laden, seen as ironclad evidence that the United States has trampled on Islamic culture. The United States suffered a crushing defeat in Somalia in 1994. Dozens of scholars, the bodies of fallen soldiers, were dragged into the streets by the people. This incident, it was the prototype for the later movie Black Hawk Down. Bin Laden was inspired. He declared to his followers that America was not invincible. As long as enough people are sacrificed, we can force them to flee our land. So did his terror ideas transform to greater kill. The stronger the shock and awe. In the years that followed, frequent terrorist attacks. January 1995, attempt to assassinate Pope Paul II. June of the same year, the apostle assassinated Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak again. In November, the US military base in Saudi Riyadh exploded. 5 people died in the same month. The Egyptian embassy in Pakistan was also attacked. Kill people. Most of these attacks were related to bin Laden. He himself has also publicly claimed responsibility for some of the incidents. In 1996, the hunt for bin Laden. The U.S. Central Bureau established a bin Laden pursuit team, codenamed Yalak Intelligence Station, and issued a global wanted notice. Offer a bounty of $5 million for him. June 25, 1996. Saudi Arabia's airbase in the Netherlands. Terrorist attack again. The explosion killed 19 U.S. Air Force personnel. 280 people were injured under intense international pressure. The Sudanese government finally expelled bin Laden from the country. So the mastermind behind this terrorist act, carrying his Al-Qaeda, embark on the road of escape again, and this time, he chose to return to the old battlefield of Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, bin Laden was granted asylum by the Taliban regime. He supplied weapons to the Taliban, funding and military training, sent advisors to participate in military operations. In exchange, the Taliban allowed bin Laden to move freely in Afghanistan, establish training camps, and develop arms. To further strengthen the relationship between the two parties, bin Laden even married Taliban leader Omar's 13-year-old daughter. In 1997, bin Laden accepted CNN interview with journalist Peter Arnett. In the interview, bin Laden said, "The actions of the US government are it's injustice, ugly and immoral, especially his support for Israel, occupation of Palestinian territories, except these, plus America, other acts of aggression and injustice. So we announced publicly, Al-Qaeda will confront the United States." Peter Arnett later said, "I thought at the time, bin Laden's declaration of war on the United States was nothing but rhetoric. Until 9/11. I went out and saw the sky of New York was filled with smoke. I just found out." How powerful is this demon? February 1998. Bin Laden issues Islamic decree. Call on all Muslims to kill Americans, rob its wealth. He also appealed to Muslim youth and armed groups everywhere. Join the war against America. August 7th of the same year, the U.S. ambassador to Tanzania and Kenya. The museum was hit by a car bomb almost simultaneously. 224 people were killed. More than 4,500 people were injured. Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility. This event shocked the world. 10 days later, bin Laden was wearing camouflage, man's in headscarf. An AK is leaning against the back. Video of 47 submachine guns appears on the internet. He confidently declared it a holy war against America. And so he entered the American public by the FBI. included in the list of the 10 most wanted criminals. In retaliation for the embassy bombing, the United States launched Infinity on August 20, 1998, extended military operations, launching cruise missiles from the Red Sea, fighting al-Qaeda training camps in Afghanistan, and airstrikes on the Al-Qaeda pharmaceutical factory in Sudan. After investigation, the pharmaceutical factory, production of essential medicines for the Sudanese people. There are no signs of chemical weapons being manufactured. This fraud incident let the US government encounter the onslaught of public opinion, an Islamic group based in Cape Town, South Africa, blow up a Planet Hollywood chain. 2 people died. 26 people were injured as a protest against the US crackdown. Bin Laden also took action against the United States, strongly condemned, and claimed that it was a manifestation of American hegemony. After the bombing, the United States has increased pressure on the Taliban regime, demand the surrender of Bin Laden. However, the Taliban took a hard line, resolutely refuse. In 1999, the United Nations adopted a resolution, imposed comprehensive economic and diplomatic sanctions on the Taliban, but the move did not force the Taliban to compromise. Bin Laden continues to operate in Afghanistan. Terrorist attacks continue. October 12, 2000. USS Kerr-guided missile destroyer. While replenishing in the port of Aden, Yemen, 2 al-Qaeda members flying a dinghy full of high explosives near the Kerr and detonate explosives. 17 US Navy personnel died instantly. 39 people were injured. This incident once again shocked the United States. However, less than a year later, a larger terrorist attack is imminent.